All right, cool. Let's get started. Let's begin building Capbook, our perfect social media website. All right. So your tools today will be a code editor of some sort, like VS Code. You can use our code editor too, and a terminal/git bash. All right. So to start, you guys should have gotten the workshop already. Uh-oh, why is my display disconnecting? And then if you guys can, all right, so once you guys got the workshop, we want to do some, we want to install this VS Code extension called Prettier. It will make your code look prettier. It will make it go from like this, which is kind of ugly, to be something like this, right? So if you guys go on VS Code here, let's do that, and look up onto Marketplace extension, and look up Prettier. I have it installed. All right, connection's kind of slow right now. All right, everyone is trying to. Yeah. But then you should be able to look up Prettier and install it. So something like this. All right, cool. So let's actually look at the code, right? Before we do that, do you guys have a preference for a color theme? That's the most important thing. Dark mode. Okay, light, raise your hand. Visual Studio one. Abyss. Reach over Abyss. Let's go. No. And then this one. Okay, this one. This one. This one. All right, we'll just go with the default Visual Studio Code one then. All right, cool. Most important part is out of the way. Let's get to this workshop now. All right, so in your terminal, what you want to do now is cd into your Capbook React. Going 1 minute. All right, so right now you guys can see I'm in Capbook React. And what you want to do is do a git checkout W0 starter, right? So this basically Sorry, guys, live streamers. Not pro at this. I'll get better. You can't dislike the YouTube videos anyway, so it's whatever. Okay, so this is our goal. So for those watching at home, our goal for today will make this Capbook profile page, right? It has a profile picture, a name, 2 columns, one for about me, and then one for my favorite type of cat, right? This is what we kind of want to emulate. All right, so first step, and I'll give you guys some time to do this, but let's focus on the HTML for now, right? There's a lot of formatting to go around to make it look pretty like this, pretty subjective. We want to get the content onto our page at this point, right? So the first exercise, getting started, is to just have this content right here. You want to have some sort of heading, Kevin Sun Chen. Then you want to have these 2 separate sections, an about me section and a my favorite type of cat section. And you don't want to focus on trying to make the 2 columns for now, but rather try to just have the content onto your body, right? And replace the hello world. Cool. Let's give you guys like 5 minutes or so. Feel free to talk amongst yourself and raise your hands if you need help. But yeah, trying to get this content on there. Oh no. Oh, yeah.
Also, why is the index.html? Do you know why the index.html is blocked? Is it this one? Why this index.html?
You do a git checkout.
Oh, I did clone.
Yeah, once you do clone, you have to do a git checkout to go to your terminal.
Okay.
You git checkout W0
Okay.
and then dash starter. So,
Oh wait, why do you need to check out?
so right now it's on master, which has like all of the code,
Okay.
or like none of it, I guess.
Oh.
And then you want to be on the branch where it actually has our workshop on it. So
Okay.
so git checkout.
Get check out. Oh wait, actually I need to go to that directly first.
Yeah.
Thing.
Nice timeout. Oh no.
What?
Wi-Fi is like really bad.
Wait, you should try connecting to Azure instead of MT.
Is it checkout? What is it called again? Wait.
All right, all right. All right, let's get back together now. Do you guys need more time? Raise your hand if you need more time. Yeah, yeah. All right, let's do 2 more minutes then, 2 more minutes. This works. Very, very. I think people just like get cloning everywhere, so it's like, yeah. People like get cloning everywhere, so it's like messing with the. All right. All right. Let's get back together now. You guys can also catch up. I'll show you guys a command where you can just catch up to where I am. But you get something like this for what your website looks like currently, right? You got some sort of heading, then you get 2 sections, an about me section and my favorite type of cat section. And in terms of code itself, this is sort of what you want to have, right? So the title here is not actually going to show up, right? It's just going to show up onto your Chrome tab. But the important thing here is the heading, which is Kevin Sun Chen, a break. So this is not very crucial. But then the most crucial thing here is these 2 separate sections, right? You want an about me section and a my favorite type of cat section. Is the font large enough for you guys, by the way? Good. All right. Yeah. So the reason why we want to use these section div or tags, not div, is because we want to later on modify these sections, right? We want to be able to change these sections to essentially have it be 2 columns at the end. But right now it's just this, right? Okay. If you guys want to get caught up to where I am, you type in git checkout W0 step 1. Oh, first off, you do git reset hard. So you do this command right here, which basically resets any changes you might have made. And then you do a git checkout W0 step 1. And then you guys will be able to get caught up to where I am right now. Raise your hand if you need help and TAs will come around. But that should get you to where I am. You good? Yep. For what? For clearing? Oh, Prettier? Yeah, so Prettier, once you install it, you can set it. Where is it? Where's my slides? You can change it in the settings to have it be format unsafe. Additionally, you can, I forgot what the command was, but depending on if you have a Mac or a Windows, you can select all and then format it to be prettier. But this is more important later on, I think. And it's just to make your code look better. Right now, it's not super important. Yes, question. For what? Yeah, so to check out, you do a git reset -- hard. All right, followed by a git checkout W0 step 1. All right, so those 2 commands. If you guys don't know what those commands are doing, I'll probably explain it next week. We'll probably explain it next week in lecture. Just basically just clear out all your changes and get you a step. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. There's a lot more you need to do. So yeah, if you need help, raise your hand. TAs will come around, or if you're virtual, go to weblab.tl/q. All right, so that's checking out. All right, let's add a profile picture now. If you guys go into your directory, you can see this cat.jpg image in here. Now what we want to do is put this cat image right onto our website, right? Hint, we call the image tag and its attributes. Right, so I'll just give you guys like a quick 2 minutes to try and do this. Because I don't think it should take that long. Yeah, go ahead. All right. Let's get back together now. I know that was quite short, but I'll also walk through how you would do it. So, does anyone have any suggestions on how we should insert this image onto our HTML file? Yep. Just gonna copy and paste like this. Yeah, exactly, right? Pretty straightforward. You want our image to be on top of everything. So you put that image tag and you set the HTML attribute to where the cat image is, right? If you go back here, and we refresh, bang, cute little cat right there. Nice. All right. Yeah, so if you guys want to get caught up to this, you can do a git checkout again. So again, git reset hard, and now we're on step 2. So git checkout W0 step 2. All right, that should get you caught up to where we're at right now. Cool. Okay. All right. So now basically we're done with our HTML components, right? We got our image, we got our content, and now we're having to work on making it more stylish. We want to focus on doing some CSS to it, right? And to make it more stylish, we want to link our CSS style sheet, right? Using this link tag, we can set the relationship to be style sheet and point to our styles.css file, right? And that's pretty straightforward. We talked about it during lecture, but it's basically just link. No, I'm just going to copy this. Link relationship equals style sheet and href equals styles.css, right? And this will essentially ties our index.html here and our styles.css here, right? These two files here, let me see, let's split these. These two files here are now linked. And if you refresh on your page, you shouldn't see any changes, right? Because there's no styling that we've done to it. right? So link, after linking our style sheet, let's actually have some styling and see if it actually works, right? To try to see if styling actually works, let's try centering our name. So you can see this Kevin Sun Chen here, it's now center. And if you recall, one way to do that is to use CSS class, right? And let's define a class called U text center, U standing for utility. And for any element with this description tied to it, we'll make the text alignment center, right? So I'll just go ahead and walk you guys through that. So U text center. So we're defining our class here. Then you do a text align and then center, right? So that's our CSS. Put a period there, right? And now to tie our CSS to our HTML, if you guys recall, this is the class. So we set class equals in quotation, what am I doing? U text center, right? That's it, right? This step may seem simple, but it's basically all you will have to do. This is basically all you will be doing for web development, right? You define a CSS class and you tie to your HTML, right? That's the crucial step that you guys should know, right? All right. Go just utility class. So if you want to get to where I am right now, just do a git reset hard and git checkout. W0 step 3. W0 step 3. All right. That should get you to where we are at. Cool. All right, let's move on to centering other text. And I'll actually give you guys 5-ish minutes to do this one. So you see how the other text about me and my favorite type of cat, all of those other content is centered. Yeah, so you guys try and do that now. So 5 minutes, try to center the other text. Go. How are we doing on time? You guys good to go? Yes, maybe? No? Okay. Let's give a couple more minutes then. All right, let's get back together now. It's okay if you guys are not able to do this, but I'll just walk through how we would do it, right? So we have our UText Center class right here, right? Or CSS rule set right here, right? Basically, what we want to do is apply this class across our other elements, our section element. And what you would do here is just like class equals UText Center for our sections, our first section. Go ahead and copy paste this one to our second section, right? So now if you refresh, you can see that both of these sections are now centered, right? And just for demonstration purpose, if I were to remove this class for this first section here and refresh, you guys can see that it will not be centered, right? So all you need to do is put UText Center, apply the HTML attribute with the value class or value UText Center to each class of a section. Are we good on that? You guys make sense? Yeah. Body tag. So what the body tag would do is essentially make everything within body center, right? I would recommend not messing with the body tag just because it's the biggest container and you want to do like things inside of it, right? Yeah, but that does work. If you try, it will work and make everything center. So yeah, yes. So if you put both sections in a div tag and then put that in UText Center, that also center it, right? As you guys can see, there's like multiple ways of centering these kind of elements, right? This is just one solution, but you can definitely put it in a div tag and then make everything inside of it center. The reason why it's called cascading style sheet is because the style kind of cascade down to your inner boxes and so forth. Yeah, good suggestion, good question. Yeah, so go ahead and if you want to get to the step, get reset hard, get checkout W0 step 4. All righty, let's see. All right, let's move on now. So yeah, as you guys can see here, if you apply the UText Center class to both of these sections, the thing that's highlighted in, that's shaded will be center, right? Okay, so we're slowly getting there. I want to take a slight detour and talk about fonts, and then let's import some cool fonts into our cat book. So to import fonts, you go to fonts.google.com, which is probably the best source for getting some fonts. As you guys can see here, there's a bunch of cool ones. Where's Wingding? Okay, no Wingdings. All right, and you guys can follow these steps to sort of import fonts, but I'll walk through them. They look kind of ugly and complicated. So let's do, what font are we using for Catbook? Open Sans. So you can kind of look up your font, Open Sans. You can click on this. And let's say we want to do light 300. You want to add the style. Then you also want medium 500. So you're like, okay, I like those two style. Then you can, these things will pop up right here. It will show you how you can use it in your web application. If it doesn't pop up, you can click on this view your selected families here. Pretty straightforward. Then what you want to do is click on this import, right? And essentially, there's two steps you need to do. First, import it. So copy this import statement within this style. Style. Hopefully you guys can see that. Style tag there. So you want to put it on the top of your document. Just paste that in. And then now you want to actually use your elements themselves, right? Or use this font itself, right? And to that, you can set it to body, right? And I think there was a question earlier about why we may not want to use text alignment for body. I think body is best used for like changing global things like fonts and things like that, right? So if you create this, target this HTML element body, and you kind of just paste this in right here, CSS rules. It will change your entire application to use this font family, right? So everything within body will use this font family now, right? So pretty straightforward. You choose the font you like on Google Fonts. You copy this import statement, and then to apply it, you can use this font family here. You don't have to use this body. You can use this to whoever, but yeah. So now if we go back to Catbook, you refresh, bang, you get, nice fonts. Cool. Yeah, that's basically it for like importing fonts. If you guys are not caught up, I'll just do a git reset hard. And then git checkout. But yeah, you can mess around with other different fonts. For the sake of time, I'll move on. But now, on to the more important part, which is adding our navbar at the top. If you guys remember Catbook, let's go back to Catbook. We have this navbar at the very top for our final goal, right? So we want to do something and, make this navbar, right? Yeah. Oh, there we go. So to add this navbar, we want to create this nav class called nav container, right? And we want to insert it at the top of our document, right? Oh no. All right. So what you want to do is make a nav tag, right? And you want to make a class called something like nav container, just to call it, a container where our navbar will be, right? And then within our nav container, let's, for the time being, make a header tag, and we'll call it Catbook, right? So you can also define this class as nav title. So all of these defining class and stuff is meant so that we can more easily change our CSS later on, right? But essentially, you would add this nav HTML element with the title inside of it. Right? And once you have that and you click refresh, you should get your navbar. Well, at least the minimum, of what a navbar would look like. We still have to style it and things like that, right? Oh, my display. Give me a second here. Okay, so now that we've added a navbar, we want to style it to make it more colorful, right? But when we talk about colors, we want to be consistent with our coloring scheme, right? If you go on Facebook or if you go on Twitter, any sort of website like that, there's a common coloring scheme across your application, right? And we want to emulate the same thing where we too want to define a coloring scheme and reuse the color as much as possible, right? And to that, we use something called CSS Variables. And what CSS Variables are variables that are globally defined within our HTML document and our CSS documents. The syntax here is kind of straightforward, but can be kind of confusing at first. What you want to do is do a colon and then do root, which basically targets saying, okay, these variables will exist within our entire application. Then for each variable, you do a dash dash and then defining the name and then what that variable value corresponds to, right? So these would be the values that we want to set for our primary colors here. Display. Okay. But yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Right. So you want to do something like root. And then primary. Then what's it? Gray. And then also white. For the exact hex number, coloring hex number doesn't really matter. It's arbitrarily chosen. So I'll just go ahead and copy that for now. Right. F7. Right. And then white is just. Oh my, what's going on? All right, technical difficulties here. All right, so we've defined these variables right here, right? And how would we go around using these variables now? Right, to that, you would call on it. Let's say we want to call on it using our nav title, right? So let's target our nav title now. And then let's say color equals one of these colors that we have up here. How we do that is we type in var, and then we do dash dash and primary, right? And this will make our nav title color to be the primary color, essentially. Right? So still, if we refresh now, you get catbook is now our primary color, right? And the reason why CSS variables are so powerful is because you can just change these variables and like what values they point to and change the coloring scheme across your entire application, right? Imagine you have this primary variable into 20 different divs and apply across your application. You can just change it to hot pink or something, and then you refresh, and then your title will also be hot pink now, right? So that's why CSS variables are so powerful, right? Keeping a consistent coloring scheme across your application. Yeah, there's also in the checkout that you guys will do in a bit, we also set the margin and font weight to be 0 and normal, just for styling purposes. But yeah, so go ahead and now try changing the color. Oh, wait. Let's do a good checkout first, actually. So git reset hard, just to get caught up. So currently, this is what it has. Catbook is blue, and the reason why this look a little bit different is because we apply these margin and font weight values here just to cancel out some of the default style. Don't worry too much about that. But now it's your guys' turn, because what we want is a blue navbar, right? We don't want the text to be blue. We want this instead, right? So try using these variables that we've defined. Hint, you might need a new container class, and take about like 7-ish minutes to do this one. But yeah, try and make this new navbar now with the blue across the top. Cool. No. Huh?
It's 7 minutes.
What?
Which is the last thing.
What?
It's the last thing. We good? We good? Thumbs up? For sure. Okay, cool. Change from the font. All right. For the sake of time, actually, I'm gonna move on. Hopefully, you guys got a little bit of a chance to try this out. But basically, you need a new container class. So we can call this class nav container. And now within this nav container, let's go down here. You can change the color to primary now. And then change the nav title color back to like something like, I think we define white. All right, so you target this outside box element to be primary color, to have the primary color, and you target the inside element to have the white color. All right, so if you refresh, you get, oh my, whoops. What's going on? What did I do wrong here? Oh, background color, whoops. Okay, good, thank you. All right, yeah, background color and not the actual color. You're refreshing. Panic. going on here? Oh, aha. Okay, I know why. Nope. What the heck is going on? I'm just gonna check out. All right, hopefully you guys didn't run into that for some weird reason. It's not an indentation thing. Bruh. All right. So don't do that. Just, you should be able to just set the background color to the primary color. I'll rewatch the recordings to see what the heck went wrong. But that's about it. Yeah. So I don't know what just happened there. Probably some misspelling, I think. All right, let's move on though. Let's move on from that embarrassment. All right, and talk about something called blank space, Taylor's version. Also known as the void. All right, so what is the void? The void in my heart that can only be filled by Taylor Swift. No, it's the void right here, right? You guys might have noticed it while you were, writing up the cat book, but there's this spacing in between the content and the page that's super annoying, right? So we should work on filling it. And let's inspect where that's coming from. Do the classic hacker thing that people do in high school. You inspect element, and you can click this button right here. Hopefully that's not too small for you guys. But if you click on this, you can hover over different HTML boxes and kind of see what's going on, right? So if you go and hover over your body, that's it. You can kind of see there's a margin, right? And if you look at here, inspect, you can see that there's an 8-pixel margin for some reason, right? It doesn't matter why there's a margin, we just need to get rid of it, right? But when we talk about margin and things like that, I want to take a step back and talk about the HTML box model, right? So with each HTML element, you have content, padding, border, and margin, right? So each content has some spacing between what you put down in the content itself and the border around it, right? That's padding. And then the space after the border is called margin. So in our case, this spacing is a margin that is just after our the border of our content. And we want to target it and get rid of it, right? This is the box model. It's important to know this model mainly because it's how you would figure out ways to distribute our spacing and things like that, right? Right, so you can kind of see this GIF that we provide in the slides later on, where if you change different padding and border and things like that, it will change your box, right? So you can just go into your body, set margin to be 0 to get rid of that space. Not that deep, refresh, and there you go. The margin is gone, right? Let's also talk about ordering though, because with this spacing, padding, and margin, there's also these CSS attributes also take on order, right? So if you were to define margin and you set it to 10 pixel, it will make a margin of 10 pixel all around your box, right? But if you put in 2 values, it will set it to be the first 2 boxes going clockwise, right? Similarly, if you do it for 3 values, this is what you get, and then 4 and so forth, right? So this is how you would customize your own margin, padding, and border and things like that using this ordering, right? You can kind of imagine that you would want more margin on top versus on bottom and things like that, right? So we got rid of this blank space, but if we look at our capbook here, this capbook is still kind of cramped, right? It craves some space and padding in there, right? And what we want to do is add that padding, right? We could arbitrarily add some pixel padding to make it look better, right? But similar to how we want to keep a consistent coloring scheme across our application, we also want to do something called the 8-point grid system, where things are distributed via 8 points, intervals of 8 points spatially. And this is just to have a more of a vertical rhythm across your application, makes it look nicer. And you can kind of look, there's a comment in the slide here where you can read more about it, but this 8-point grid system is just a way for you to have consistency and vertical rhythm and horizontal rhythm across your application, right? And because we're using, these paddings across your application, you also want to define them as CSS variables again, right? Because you're going to be reusing this 8-point grid system all across your application, right? So, I mean, I'll just go ahead and copy and paste because I can't code and can only copy and paste. But I'll copy and paste these extra small, and medium and large variables to define for our 8-point system. And then to set padding now, you can just go to your nav container and use those variables, right? Padding, so let's say I just want the first top and bottom padding, and I'll just set this to small, and then var, I don't know, medium. That should change my padding of capbook, right? Obviously, I can change this to, instead of small, I'll make it large, and you can kind of mess around with that, right? So, yes.
You said 8-point system, but
Yeah, so pixel point, the point is like, so there's a difference between pixels and point. And I mean like, when I say 8-point system, not necessarily like using the point itself value, but more like increments of 8, right? Yeah, sorry for the confusion there. All right, cool. So that's padding in blank space. Go ahead and hit checkout to step 8 now. Can't type either. Oh my God. All right. And you should get padding and our Kevin Chen picture right there. All right. Now let's talk about border radius for a bit. Border radius is just how round your border is. And if you look on a lot of modern applications today, you can kind of see that, the corners are rounded and it's not like a harsh square, right? And that's what border radius allow you to sort of control. Let's see, I guess take a couple of minutes to see if you guys can round the picture of your capbook real quick using the 8-point system. Eventually, we want to make it into perfectly round. But yeah, right now, just try it and see if you can round your corners of your profile picture. All right, I'm gonna move on and just go over this real quick. It's okay if you guys didn't have enough time. You guys can sort of check out these different steps as you go back through the code on your own time. But basically, what you want to do is just change the image to have a max width of 100%, right? And a border radius of medium for your border radius. This is just to have it so that the container itself fills up the entire image. But the border radius is what really matters, right? All right. Yeah, go ahead and just do a git checkout W0 step 9 to get caught up if you haven't. And then a harder exercise is to make this image completely round. For the sake of time, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna try and code this up. Instead, I'm gonna check out and kind of walk you guys through the steps. There are multiple ways of doing, of making this profile image perfectly round. And I recommend using the internet, to kind of find ways to do that. But I'll go ahead and do a git checkout here and kind of walk you guys through the step of how you would kind of approach trying to make it into a perfectly round image. All right. Let's see here. Oh gosh. All right. See. Good set hard check out. All right, there we go. Okay, so to make this image perfectly round here, one approach you can take is to first make a container around this profile image. Then you want to take the image and center it within that container. And then you want to apply your border radius onto it, right? So if we walk through our code here, you can see this div class avatar that we've defined. And this avatar CSS, it looks complicated, right? But basically, it has a background image of your cat, right? And what you want to do is center this, this div within your container, right? And to do that, you can first center the image onto the actual div itself. And then you can set these CSS values to be, the width to be 100 and the height and the padding so that it corresponding to make it center within your page, right? And this padding here, right? It provides padding on the left and right side of your avatar. And if you hover over here, you can kind of see that there, right? So you have this div, you make the image center within that div, you change the border radius to make it circular. Then you have the outer container, and then you put padding so that it looks like it's in the center, right? This is just one approach. And if it didn't make sense to you guys, don't worry about it. As you, develop your own application, you Google stuff and you find your own ways of making this look the way it is, right? This is just one approach now. All right. So use the internet, it's your friend. Okay, so at this point, we're super close, right? We got the center image and we got the content of our cat book, but we still need these two columns, right? We don't want it to be in the list order. We want it to be in a column like that. So the internet is again your friend. If you want to learn how to make these two columns, you would look it up, right? If you were to use W3 though, it would recommend something like floats. And I would not recommend float, right? Instead, we recommend Flexbox. Now, Flexbox is in itself a concept that can be tricky at first to learn, but it is a lot better than using things like float, which is more absolute, right? Flexbox allows you to control the direction, sizing, distribution, and more of items. And you can add more items and the space itself will automatically fill up, right? So the reason why we teach Flexbox is it's flexible. It allows your application to be responsive and it lets you do a lot of things. It's very powerful. It can be tricky at first, but it is worth it to learn. All right, so let's apply some Flexbox to this cat book to see what happens, right? So if I go to my nav container here, right? Actually, each section, let's just make this, let's wrap each one. So, all right. So we have two sections here, right? An about me section and a my favorite type of cat section. To apply Flexbox, what you need to do is define a flex display at first, right? You want to make some sort of outer container to say that, okay, this will be a flexible display. Don't worry if this is a little bit confusing right now, but here are the steps that you have to take to apply and use Flexbox. You first want to make an outer div, right? Copy and paste this in. And then you want to do something like class equals utility flex. And you want to define your class name. You have the value display and flex, right? What this essentially is saying is that, okay, put these two components and define them in a Flexbox environment, right? And if you do that, it will be in two columns. Now we still need to style it so that it's centered and things like that. And I'll actually leave that as an exercise to you guys so you can read and learn more. But this is the first step in making things more flexible, right? You define this flex environment with outside of the items you're trying to align. Let's see. So there is an overview of more on Flexbox, and there are exercises as well on Flexbox. And I would recommend you guys go to this link right here, weblab.to/flex. It's a great resource to learn more about Flexbox, but it's super powerful. And it allows you to control sizing, direction, distribution, and more of items, right? And let's see. So there's only one thing left to do, right? Which is to make these two columns evenly distributed. Let's see how much time we have. All right. Hey, yo, where's my mouse? Okay. So for the sake of time, I will just check out and kind of walk you guys through the step. But I do recommend taking your own time after the workshop and reading more on Flexbox. Right. All right, so to change our flexible display that are not very evenly distributed to look something more like this, you want to use something called flex basis and flex grow, right? Flex grow is what we define how much space a specific item will take up, right? So if we go to this website here, you can kind of read more on flex grow, right? But essentially, if you set flex grow to 1, all items will be evenly takes up an even amount of space. But if you put flex grow to 1 and 2, then one item will have, a 1 unit amount of space. versus another item which has double that unit of space, right? I do recommend reading this and going through these diagrams to have a deeper understanding. But you want to use flex grow and flex basis for this specific instance of our cat book. And what you want to do is make sure that flex grow is 1 within each subcontainer, as you can see here. So each section, I now define another class called subcontainer, and I'm basically telling it to take up 1 unit of space, right? So each section would now take up 1 unit of space, flex grow, and then flex basis of 0. And what flex basis is just defines the default size of items. Where, if you do flex basis of 50 pixel, then it will be set to 50 pixels by default. If you set it to 0, then it's just kind of what the default behavior would be for Flexbox, right? If you refresh here, you get these 2 columns. And if you hover over these elements, you can kind of see these arrows kind of indicating that, okay, this flex element takes up 1 unit of space, and this flex element also takes up 1 unit of space, right? You guys will have more opportunities to practice these Flexbox concepts. They can be confusing at first, but here are the recommended guides. And we'll post the slides after lecture, or we probably posted it already. But play this game if you're still not comfortable with Flexbox. It's really fun. I played it. And then there's some other resource here as well, right? So there are some also homework for Catbook. If you do, you get check out step 13. There's some steps in there that we put down for comments, or we commented some steps there that you can do on your own time. And then if you want to look at the answer, you can do get checkout complete, right? But there's just some more practice with styling. So yeah, there's a brief introduction to CSS. I know Flexbox can be confusing, but like I said, feel free to look at the resources. Take your time. You have like a whole month to learn this stuff, right? Not a whole day. And yeah, this is how I felt when I realized the power of Flex. This is your homework, and then here are some memes. All right, that's it. Done.